Just waiting for him to say we're ready to go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the January 27th, 2025 council meeting. Welcome everybody here tonight. Before we get started, we'd just like to let everybody know that tonight we're gathered here again on Treaty 5 territory, which is the traditional lands and the ancestral lands, actually, of our neighbors, the Opaskwayak Cree Nation, as well as many other Indigenous peoples, and as well as the homeland of the Red River Métis. With that, I will call the meeting to order. We have one councillor that's not present tonight. Councillor Fortner has sent his regrets. Somebody should have a resolution to adopt the agenda.
Just a question on the agenda, if you would mind, indulge me. Item 14-1453. It's the fire report on 81 Edwards Avenue. I'm not sure why that particular item is in camera. Just a report.
I didn't think it was actually in camera.
I think it is.
No, I don't think so.
On the agenda, it's in camera. On the agenda, it's in camera.
Yeah. Oh, the fire safety report?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why either.
So I can remove.
Sure.
And do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Allen, that resolve the agenda be adopted as amended.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Organized here. Somebody should have a resolution to confirm the minutes.
Resolution number 2025-011, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hopper. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of January 13th, 2025 be hereby approved with all statutory declarations having been complied with.
Any questions with regards to the minutes? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed?
I can't say because I did read the minutes, but
No, you can still vote. You, yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, it's carried. Okay. Recognition period. Anybody have any great recognition of all the great things that are happening in our community?
myself and Gary, we had our grandchildren win the tournament in Creighton, not last weekend, the weekend before.
That's the basketball, yeah,
So, yep,
the one that's a girls,
girls senior, yep.
senior girls.
As usual, every weekend in town, because of the volunteers that are helping the coaches. This weekend, there's a hockey tournament that the U13 are going to in Flin Flon, boys, and basketball, JV girls are having their home tournament here for basketball this weekend. So
I also believe the Grub Box tournament is this weekend, if I'm correct, the big U11 tournament. I think that's this weekend, to be honest with you.
And my usual plug, senior boys basketball as well. They went away. It wasn't a tournament. It was 3 exhibition games, but they went undefeated into the weekend. So
Oh, good.
again, although our municipal superintendent didn't attend this weekend because he's too busy moving snow, but his team did do really well. And I also wanted to, even though it doesn't relate to Tamaqua, as a citizen here, I plugged Rosie Main Ski Trails last time. And this time I want to thank Don Dunnigan for doing such a good job out at the lake.
No,
I
absolutely.
was out there yesterday and he just finished going through them, so.
I have an error correct.
Okay.
I have an error correct from December. I had said that Jody Cool received her 4th black belt, but it was her 5th.
Wow.
did she
Yes.
straighten you out on that?
Yeah.
She did.
And I just wanted to, if everybody's done, anybody have? anything? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to give a shout out for the comedy jam.
Yeah.
that was hosted on the weekend. It was tremendous. Again, it's always a great event. The second comedian basically spent the entire hour roasting the paw in a very, very nice way. And he specifically stated towards the end that he's going to be moving to the paw so he can run for mayor, and named Andre the competition instead.
Nice.
It won't be competition, is how we have to put it.
It won't be, I can guarantee you that.
The fire department also worked the bar there, so they put on a tremendous show as well. They took some good ribbing throughout the whole thing.
I'll have to get your, the comedian's name, and I'll have to look him up because I'm a bit of a comedian as well. I just wanted to just close up. I do appreciate all the feedback that I got, and people's interested in our, on our budget. Because there was a post, put out, maybe a little premature as we're in the middle of, we're still in the middle of our budget deliberations, so I appreciate our community members looking at that. And I just wanted to sort of share a couple of things. As I mentioned, we're new in the process part of it. Like, that was our very first meeting. We haven't seen all the departments' budgets. And again, this is still the first ask. And one of the things that's important is that we want to be very transparent with what we're doing, and that's why we live stream all of our budgets. We have open meetings for everybody to attend, and when we get to the bottom or the end of the process, we have 3 readings, and everybody can come and question period and all that sort of stuff. So we're in citizen period, so we appreciate that. One of the things that does concern me though is that we want to make sure that when we're communicating out there, that it's coming and we're communicating all the facts that go along with it. So there is still some questions with regards to the budget steps and the requests that are being made. And it is council's responsibility to ensure that we are doing the right things for the government, or for the municipalities. So I hope that if people are looking for responses on Facebook to questions, I'm not sure if councils are actually responding, but I don't respond to Facebook requests. If you want to call me, you can give me a call or private message me. But more importantly, the communications coming from our administration through our official pages of the townofthepaw.ca and the Town of the Paw Facebook page. So again, I appreciate everybody's efforts. I appreciate the passion of our departments and putting stuff out there, but I think it's too early to start lobbying for certain things to happen, because we haven't actually delivered any messages yet. Councilor Hopper.
Just so we just make a quick comment on that particular post. It gives the indication that the council was shrugging the responsibility of having a safe fire department. That is so far from the truth. And if people want to know what we're doing, come to the meetings. We're very transparent, as you say. Any requests from all departments when it comes to safety are acted upon immediately.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that. So, one of the things with regards to how it works is for people to understand is that the administration drives the budget. They drive this expenses and they come to council for approval. So we're nose in, but fingers off. And we ask the questions, and we have governance in ensuring that we're doing the right thing and we're meeting the right service deliveries. But at the same time, if you don't ask, you don't get. And because we're not fingers in, we're only nose in. And so some of the requests that have just recently come up when they were asked for, we're saying council is getting an indication, not sure why you're waiting so long, let's get it done. So if there's something that comes up, we ask for urgent issues, ask now and don't wait for budget meetings for it to happen. We want to do the right things always, and we are not taking shortcuts. Okay, anything else on recognition? Seeing none, citizen period. We've got one citizen here today, Mr. Jim Burchide, the one and only from Burchide Meats and Clearwater Lake Properties. Come on up. We usually have walk-up music for our citizens, but we weren't ready tonight.
Thanks for,
Jim, you just want to introduce your name and your address?
so, thanks for the opportunity to speak here tonight. It's nice to see a citizens period at all municipal events so that communications can come directly to the floor. So my name is, James Burscheid, Jim for those that are acquainted with me, and I live out at the town's subdivision lot 1 and 2 out at Clearwater Lake. I also am in the process of developing another chunk of land. My son is actually building a property out there, and we're pleased that we've got the opportunity to develop the spot. We've been working at it for some time. We've had some challenges over the years, and I'm not going to belabor the story here, but we do have a full basement has been installed on the property right now. It's been backfilled, and we are ready to continue the development on that property. And I was scheduled to come to the last council meeting, and I was going to make a presentation then. I did submit a letter with BOLA and had a bit of a discussion, and the letter had identified, we had kind of looked at the issue of the extension fees for the building permits or the development permits there. And this year they came back at 7,000. My opinion, and this is my opinion, I thought they were a little on the high side. I know that you're going through the budget process and all that kind of stuff. And I know what it's like to sit on that side of the table. I respect that. As a potential customer or a customer for developing in the community, we would, maybe ask that in your consideration of those extension fees that you may consider a couple other options. And I know BOLA had responded back to us and said that the council had considered and come back with a tiered solution that, and I think that's a step in the right direction. Now, there's a number of properties out there that have done some significant development over the past year. They've invested some money, and there's a number of properties that are still sitting vacant and not much is going on. I want, sitting on that side of the table, I see where you're coming from. You want to see development. It is very expensive. Timelines for doing developments on properties sometimes push past a couple of years to get it done. Surveys, supply, labor, all that kind of stuff. It all takes time. In our specific case, Chris is very interested in developing the property, enjoys the area, the work that we're doing. And if there's a couple of things we'd like to offer for consideration of the council is, if you've got some movement on your property, that it's recognized as, hey, they're contributing to the spirit of a development of that property, so that it's not black and white, that, you see that there's some movement on the property. It's not a speculator situation where you're doing something else. But I think in Chris's case, I think the fact that there's a completed ICF block basement on the property, we're ready to put the next floors on there. I think this can develop pretty quickly. I'd like to propose maybe that the decision that you made to scale these maybe be respect the fact that some development has been done on those properties. If there's nothing been done on the property, I'd say, you've got to have a extension fee, and I realize that. I think it might be a little bit high, but all in all, in the community, you certainly want to encourage development and encourage people to feel comfortable developing lots, and it does take time to do that. So if we can maybe scale that request of $7,000 based on the fact there's some development that has got windows and doors and siding on it. It's not the lockup stage, but it's very close. It's keeping with the spirit of developing the properties. If you got a bare lot and nothing's been done, well,
Yeah.
that would be a consideration. So I would offer that in your considerations, maybe that we could look at something like that. The second thing, the property tax issue, I sat on RM Kelsey Council for a number of years, and I know they just went through a review process of service levies and that sort of thing. And I would strongly encourage, it's been a very effective tool with the RM Kelsey. And on the policy side, I know you've had many, many visits. I know I've been here quite a few times on the taxation and assessment to try to mitigate for some of the new home developments, to try to get service levies on. I know the RN does transportation and recycling and some other ones. And if there's ways that you can bring that to the table, I think it would be very good and effective. But I'd also like to raise the issue that both at AMM and Manitoba Chambers of Commerce, there has to be a push to look at taxation policies.
Yeah.
And I think if you do this as a joint front between the Manitoba Chambers of Commerce and AMM, the provincial politicians and sometimes others get that information directed at them, and sometimes with that much participation that they may consider those policies. We've got to be very, very careful because development, if you don't encourage a change in some of these provincial policies, we could end up with some bad scenarios that are not going to encourage development. So so just in closing, I'd just like to say, if you could reconsider the letter that was sent based on the fact that activity has been done, things have been done on the property. If you can scale that back, I think in Chris's case, there's a full intention to complete operations this year.
Yeah.
And he's a young guy. He's 30 and he'd like to make sure that he would have enjoyed being here for the discussion, but I think he's tied up doing other stuff today. So
Well, let me respond, Jim, to the three things, and I'll help you understand where we're at. So the first one regarding the development agreements and the $7,000. So one of the challenges that council is having, is actually get people to the table to develop, because when there's really no real need or push to get you to do it, then those delays can continue going on and on and on and on and on. Just like you mentioned, there's lots out there that haven't got any movement, and everybody that actually purchased the lot signed the development agreement that said that they had 2 years. And after 2 years, they have to ask for an extension. And if council decides to grant the extension, there's a fee that goes along with it. And so right now we're trying to say, well, what is that fee, and how do we encourage people to get to start doing something? Because that's what somebody that's invested like yourself or other buildings that are full up out there are paying for their taxation, right or wrong, but that's sort of the average how they got to that price. So on top of that, that's the rationale behind why we went there. On top of that, we actually have something on our agenda tonight to talk about tiered system, and I expect that you and others will be getting letters that will, but we haven't had a chance to actually review it with council, although we've seen it, we understand it, and I believe we're more or less in support of it. That's the first one. The second thing around property taxes and special service levies, this council fully supports that, and we are putting forward a special service levy review right now on the RCMP costs. And so RCMP costs in our community is around $3.7 million, and that has a significant impact. That'll have a significant impact on the higher priced homes. What we did do though is we removed the the income or the taxation off of we removed the special service levy for businesses or multi-unit complexes because they already have tools that can actually adjust their taxes based on revenues and those type of things. So that's the tool that they have. So we're looking right now that a special service levy is going to be around $950 for RCMP costs, and that will be applied to every single roll number. And so there's going to be a tipping point in the 120 mark where anything above you're going to start seeing small increases, anything below you're going to start seeing decreases. So that's the special service levy. And council has already talked about other commonly done special service levies like recycling, fire department, community safety officers, RCMP, landfills, all that sort of stuff. So, well, I guess what we're trying to do is let's get to the table with one first, see if we know how to do it, see how we can get through it. Once we know how to do it, then in 2026, then maybe we can do it for others. On top of that, the council is looking right now at a tax incremented financing program as well for businesses and development. So if you look, tax incremented financing can be powerful tools for developers because what it does is it doesn't really have a large impact on the municipality's tax base itself, but it will have an impact on a developer where we can create from the increased tax revenue special reserves to either give back a certain amount of money over a certain period of time, or actually put it in a reserve for continued development into trying to invest more into the community. So we're pretty new at that yet, but our hope is to get that within the next few months as we get through the special service levy. And for people that are maybe watching online, we plan on having an open house just to answer questions around special service levies so people completely understand it. So, and then the last thing, tax policies, you talked about AMM and chamber. Well, AMM has that as a priority one on their list of things to lobby the government. And remember, the town of The Pas actually submitted the tax modeling profile that we got from Saskatchewan, and we put forward a resolution at AMM, and now it's actually there to try to do something about it. Every chance this council has had an opportunity to talk about it. I know Councillor Allen was, when we were at AMM, brought it up with the minister at that time, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Simard, will be here at Trappers Festival, and I'm sure that will be on our list to talk about as well. But I do know AMM is also all over that. So that's sort of where we're at. Stay tuned, more to come.
Just one other point that I just wanted to make for them, and you probably just missed. The $7,000 amount wasn't just pulled out of the
Yeah.
air. That's kind of an average tax assessment for out there. So it's more representative of if the development had been done, that's what your taxes would be.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a motivating factor, but if you're gonna apply a policy like that at the lake, are you gonna do the same policy to development lots in town?
Yeah. Yeah, we will.
Somebody buys.
Anybody buys a lot in the community of The Pas that the town of The Pas owns will come with a development agreement.
Yeah, I would suggest perhaps that you expand it from 1 or 2 years to maybe pushing that out to a longer period of time because you're getting pretty expensive there.
No, and yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, that could be one of the things.
And I'm suggesting this in your policy consideration. You're just, you want to encourage development, but it takes time to develop, and not everybody's going to walk to the bank and get a contractor and he's going to flip the switch in a year. Some are going to take a period of time and try to engage and do some of the work themselves, and I think that's a thing that we have to consider in our policies.
If we had have kept just the rule at 2003, so we probably would be here tonight. We got your attention,
Well,
and we want to be fair to everybody out there. I think what the mayor has talked about, some of the options that you've given us, are already in progress, and you probably receive as in correspondence here. And between that and the special service levy,
yeah, and in our case, we weren't one of the ones that purchased the $10,000 lots. We purchased it off of somebody else. But when we purchased it, the reset button was never hit once, not once. We paid fees all the way through.
Mhm.
Now you have people that are purchasing these lots, you hit a reset button and they get 2 years in there while there's a reset going on. We never got that. And that's where the inconsistencies in the policies that have been laid out in some of this
Yeah.
development are a challenge. And that's the point I wanted to get across tonight is if you look back at the fees and go and look at the fees that we paid and we cut checks to $13,000 or we're going to be approaching that by the time this is done. We're in this to try to get the development going. We've stuck with it. I've met with 3 mayors and 25 councilors on this development to try to get a format in this thing to get this changed. And it started out at crazy prices on lots with taxes that should have been here, and we've got it back and forth.
Yes.
Now we're starting to get a point here, and I don't want to belabor the point here, but I just want to.
We hear you, Jim. We hear you loud and clear, and we understand that, people may feel that way, but as well as when like you talked about the next development or somebody else, you know, when somebody signs on and has an agreement that this is what they're gonna do, we have to follow it. And this is why you'll see the new, something that you'll get some communication, sort of recognizes the efforts of people that have actually been doing the work. And if you're not gonna do the work this year and you've owned your lot for a number of years already, and you're still at, Bush, you're gonna have to pay $7,000, but at the same time, council really doesn't even have to give, the agreement is that you're supposed to have a development there and you could lose the lot. We don't want to get to that and we want to encourage that. And we're not saying that this is with Chris's place, but that's sort of where those things are going. And just one other point, like one of the things I do understand, and I do understand how the homeowners out there feel about they don't get any services, but I do struggle with that a little bit, as that I do understand there's certain things that we are looking at, but the town of the Paw still needs to collect municipal taxes. And if the town of the Paw wasn't here and you didn't go to and there was no restaurants and there's no paved roads and there's no water running around town, then the likelihood of you having a cottage out there may be a little bit less, or you'd be living in Winnipeg and driving up here. So I understand the frustrations of what the taxation is. Council understands the taxation issue within our municipality, and we're hoping that with a little bit of reform here, we'll be able to sort of level that on.
I have to, one last comment, signage has gone up out there. It's good. The snow clearing, the last snowfall, we had a plow out there just within hours. It was nice. We've got some movement. The discussion is going on, and I think this kind of conversation has to go on more and more. On the policy development side, your bylaw, whatever 4507 or whatever it was, I pulled it up tonight. I would say you could probably shake it up a little bit more and make it better.
Yeah.
A little bit more inclusive, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But that's how we change some
No,
of the
absolutely.
larger issue stuff. That's why I appreciate the time. I don't want to belabor the issue. You guys got lots to consider.
No, and we appreciate you sharing your concerns, Jim. Like I said, it's not going on deaf ears, and we are, the speed and how, municipal politics and bureaucracy works. So it just, we're going as fast as we can go.
Yeah, that's good. Anyways, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Hey, Leila. How's Laura tonight?
Nervous.
Nervous. Oh, just wait till all the questions. Jim softened us up for you.
Okay, I'm Shorty Rustick's granddaughter.
Can you just introduce yourself? And
Yeah, my name's Laurel Rustick. A little bit about me. I used to sub in all the schools, including the native old school that used to be here. Except I didn't sub at the new native school, the high school. And I worked at the provincial building for, fitness, rec and sport and culture, heritage and recreation, years ago. And I have just been at home for the last couple of years. What I wanted to, I submitted this to you. I don't know if you.
Yeah, we all-
You've read it or
We haven't
not read
we
it?
just got it.
You have?
We have not read
You
it, but you did
haven't.
explain it to me, Laurel, so just maybe,
It's just a history
Yeah.
of my grandfather's life.
Yeah.
There's two articles. One is written by, Jim Paris, who put it in Cottage North about 10 years ago. And it's a really good, chronological order of my grandfather's life.
Yeah.
And it's a human interest story. It's really nice. And then there's notes done up by Ralph McLean on my grandfather's life, and it adds a little bit more to it. My grandfather has the world record for dog racing. Emil Goddard has, it says in the museum that he has the world record. I don't know, he probably does for a certain distance or something. But my grandfather did in 1923, he did, in 1924, he did a race, 200-mile nonstop in 23 hours and 42 minutes. And nobody expected him back that soon, so we rang the fire bell. Now, the story is really cute, so I urge you to read
yeah, we
it.
will.
Now, what I wanted to do is, I don't know what kind of support I have on this, but, I wanted either to promote Trappers Festival using my grandfather, or promote both Trappers Festival and the PAW, or one or the other, or both. I was thinking of having a sign made, or two signs. It depends on how much money is involved and everything. But I was thinking of billboards, one at each end of town, or one just sign where the Trappers Man is. There's Peter, my husband, noticed that there's a blank space on the Trappers Man, and that if you put the sign up high, it wouldn't get damaged by people. So those are a couple possibilities. I have applied, or I have submitted my information to the Northern Trappers Festival organization. Lori Stevenson doesn't seem to be responding to me, but I know she's very busy because Trappers Festival is coming up. But the Tri-Community Foundation does have grants for this sort of thing, but it has to be an organization that applies to it, and it has to be applied by submitted by February 15th. Now, I don't know how much support I have on this. It's just an idea I came up with. I don't think I want to work on it just myself. I know you need things done like mounting it and knowing what material it's built out of and how much and everything. And I need someone to help with that.
Laurel, have you spoke with the Rotary?
Yes, I did, and all they were talking about is putting something on his grave.
Yeah, but I guess,
But he is not a Rotarian,
yeah,
and so they said that he was basically not eligible for anything.
Like my thinking, without, is that you should probably talk to those groups like service groups. Kinsman heavily involved in the, dog races, Manitoba Trappers Festival. Obviously, the town of the Paw, when it comes to requiring any in-kind assistance and stuff like that, if we're moving forward, but I think, the most important thing to do now is get us together a small group, whoever you can get, and develop a project scope, so that you know exactly what you're trying to do, and then we'll work from there. I would also reach out to maybe, Jackson at the museum or our curator. He might be able to point you in the direction of certain people to support. But I mean, council, I don't think we're against, doing something like that. It's just that, not sure I'm not sure if we can lead it at this time.
My guess would be we'd be able to do a letter of support.
Yeah.
Kind of be the scope of what we could do. As far as a deadline of February 15th, as you mentioned, I'm gonna assume that there's later deadlines as well.
Yeah.
It's probably quarterly or something. I'm not gonna speak for them, but I'm assuming
Yeah.
there's some sort of revolving deadline. It
Okay,
might be better to look at February 15th of next year so that you have.
right, I was thinking that might be,
And even I think, if you reach out to the DMC, I know it's not,
what's the MC?
Destination Marketing, Committee. And I know they're not, it's not a group that might not meet the criteria of their mandate. But there might be some people within that group that could support you to kind of get you in the right direction. Gabrielle Swan is very good at organizing. There's, I think Kelsey Paddock's involved in that. So there might be some help there. But what I'll do, Laurel, is so you don't have to write it down. If you leave your email address with Bola.
It's on.
Okay, yeah, so we'll send you some bunch of information and
Okay.
sort of help you get organized and support you that way. And I agree with what Councillor Allen has mentioned. This is probably not something you're gonna try to scramble this year anyway, so
Right.
let's just do it right.
That'll give you some extra time to do a design and it can be what you want it
Okay.
to be.
I also have a picture on here, of a sign that's in Flim Flon. Flim Flon did a sign up. My grandfather was a bigwig in Flim Flon for several years. And they did a sign, just off of Main Street that says Shorty Russick Lake Placid. And it's quite a nice sign. So I can get the
Sure.
person that did up that sign too.
Yeah, and I can maybe reach out to whatever that group did that, whoever did that, find out that way. And then you can kind of copy their plans,
Yeah,
get some quotes.
this is just really a new idea,
Yeah,
so I
that's
haven't
great.
done any real work on it.
No, that's great.
Okay,
No, thank you for
is
coming.
that
That's it.
it? All right.
Now you have to stay till the end of the meeting.
Does Bola have your contact information?
It's on.
Yeah. And I'm not that, computer literate or cell phone very good at it, so if you wanna phone me, it's better to phone, but I can usually get my husband to help me out on the cell phone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Oops. Okay, moving along to skid steer, Harley Rake and other attachments resolution.
Resolution number 2025-012, moved by myself, second by Councillor Allen. So the council authorized the purchase of a skid steer with Harley rake and other attachments from Lawson Sales in the amount of $120,427.32 plus tax.
Another good example of requests being made and ensuring that we're doing the right thing. I know the purchase of this equipment is gonna help big time around schools at snow removal because it has a large snow blower attachment that can be used. But more importantly, we had a demonstration with regards to that Harley rake and back lanes. And so I would hope that our citizens that have terrible back lanes will see some improvements this year as we make this investment. Any further questions, concerns? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Hey, air compressor dryer for water treatment plant.
Resolution number 2025-013, moved by myself, second by Councillor Allen. Resolved that council authorize the purchase of the air compressor with dryer from Cord Air in the amount of $10,095 plus tax.
Again, critical equipment for our water plant, to ensure that all of our pneumatics keep up and running. This is just the recommendation from administration. Any questions? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? None carried. Planning, fire service, payrolls and account.
Resolution number 2025-014, moved by Councillor Manage, second by Councillor Commodore. Resolved that council authorize the following accounts. Pay period number 2 in the amount of $145,661.69. General check number 32201 to 32241 in the amount of $35,886.67. EFTs in the amount of $301,921.46.
Everybody have a chance to look through the registry? Any questions with regards to any of that stuff? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Personnel, CAO training.
Resolution number 2025-015, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manage. Resolved that council for the CAO to attend a training session titled Navigating Your Financial Plan in Brandon, organized by Manitoba Municipal Administrators on February 6, 2025.
Then professional development for our great employee BOA, our CAO. Any questions with any of that? Seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, committees and reports. Take this little cheat sheet over. Museum board.
Okay, the last meeting was held on January 7th. Still don't have a curator. Now is the time where they're going to be finishing their schooling, so they'll be out looking for jobs. So hopefully they'll jump in and want to come to the call. We had a raffle. We sold 71 tickets for a grand total of $710, which constitute there's profit. And Mr. Andrew Legacy, everybody knows him. He was the one that won the print from James Dean. Right now we have a beautiful exhibit done by Shauna Konesk. We had a night there. That was the second week of January there. And she does beadwork, but she has her own style, and I would like everybody to go and look at hers because it's very different. It's not like the regular beadwork that we've always seen. She actually does dresses and jewelry. She does the mitts and the mucklucks. She's got a big repertoire of what she can do. So she will be there. The museum events for December, they had a raffle that we said already. They had a vendor sale. They had a movie night. They had a Christmas dinner for the homeless. They hosted a mosaic workshop. Francis Cooper exhibit closed on December 28th. And the one for Shauna, it's called Journey Home. And I was amazed. Like, I like beadwork, but her stuff is
Online.
it is beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Chamber,
No official meeting until next Wednesday, or sorry,
Yes,
next
Wednesday.
Wednesday. But they did do a brainstorming session, which I wasn't available for, but my wife was invited to it for grant writing purposes. But it was, like I said, non-official meeting, so nothing came of it.
There's been nothing on CDC. I know that Jonathan is working, I guess the big thing is chasing some immigration stuff right now. And also trying to find out what's going on with, some of our businesses downtown. Destination marketing, Councillor Forster's not here, but I've been roped into or pulled into the basketball, grant. It's been going back and forth, so, they're still looking for a little bit of information there. I'll share some more of that later. See, like,
Budget came out the other day and there was an email vote for it since we meet on a quarterly basis and that's almost completed. It will be submitted shortly. We always have a deadline like town hall and, that's all I have.
recycling board,
Had a meeting, last week and the preliminary budget, the draft budget was approved by the board. The manager is going to be invited by administration to appear at one of our finance meetings. One of them might be February the 3rd, or we talked about coming up soon, one of their finance meetings to present the budget and answer any questions, clarify what the increases were, why there were increases, and basically answer any questions anybody might have. Also, talk about the capital replacement of the vehicle that's coming up later to be the whole for the vehicle.
yeah, library board.
There was a meeting scheduled for earlier this month, and it got canceled at the very last minute, and then they rescheduled, and I couldn't attend for the date that it rescheduled, so. I haven't seen the minutes yet for that.
Kirsty,
There was a meeting scheduled today for 12 o'clock. We were notified at 12:10 that they were not able to come. The agreement expired January of 2023. I would suggest that administration look at it. If there's any changes we want in the expired agreement, we make it, send it to us to sign it.
Even though Councillor Hopper, that agreement has an expiration date on it, it continues to roll the way
Yeah,
it is.
understand
Yeah, just in case for viewers, if
Yeah.
they don't understand that. Yeah.
It's still in effect, but I would suggest if we have any changes we want, put them in there, send it to them, tell them to sign it, ask them to sign it.
okay, anything else with that?
No, he covered it.
Youth
Thank you.
counselor,
I have quite a few updates from this. Yeah, starting January 10th, university boys and senior varsity girls both got first place.
Yeah.
JV boys and girls also played that weekend. January 17th to 18th, senior varsity girls got first place again. Like you mentioned earlier, January 25th, senior varsity boys won 3 games undefeated, and junior varsity girls played in Warren.
From now on, I'll save it for you to.
No, it's
or I
okay.
won't use it as a-
This week on the 29th and 30th, there will be curling zones. No
Oh.
results yet, obviously. And Friday, French exchange students from France arrived. They will be staying until Saturday, I believe, before they move on from the POC. While they're here, they will be doing some community activities. I will pass with school, reading to younger French immersion students, I believe.
all good, so where are they going after here?
I'm not sure. I think they may be skiing before going back to France.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday, we were at the Clearwater Lake Ski Chalet.
Yeah, I couldn't make it, unfortunately.
And I noticed one of your report there, the senior varsity girls were 9-1 this year so far. I
Wow,
think the boys are maybe even that or better, only they've lost.
wow, bunch of good basketball players in the bottom. That's great, thank you for that. Any other reports? Anybody else wants to share? I just got a couple of things, So I was invited to speak at Linkages, at the end of the month, and I meant to put in an issue sheet, but, we'll need an issue sheet to cover my expenses there. If anybody has any problems with that, but it's an important session, we should be there anyways.
If anybody has a problem, they can go on your behalf.
Yeah.
Make sure you take a copy of our new building permit application.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for the, I'm gonna write down our updated website. Yeah, I might use that as my presentation. And then as I mentioned, that AIT meeting or the interagency team meeting, I did send out, all the stuff for that today. We'll meet, the 26th at the, Rach Johnson Arena at the multi-purpose room. And I didn't invite anybody else from the council, but I could send you the link if you want to link in, but the committee is very, very large. So I think we need to get some clarity on our mandate, and that's the purpose of the first meeting. And also Katie Cook from Canadian Center for Safer Communities is going to do a presentation on our community safety and well-being plan, because that's coming closely to start rolling that plan out, seeing where they ended up with everything. And the last thing, I'll make a comment. I did, the newspaper did call me on Friday and Saturday. Friday was around some of the articles or some of the Facebook messaging that was going on. And again, my comment is we're early in the process and we don't respond to Facebook comments. You know, we're too early in the process to be really commenting on any details. And then the second discussion was around the RCMP and the RCMP numbers. I did share my concerns again with the level of numbers that we have in our community, sitting at 12 was the last report. Although today, if you look in the RCMP report, it says that there's more than 12 or less than 12 vacancies. But if you read a little bit deeper into it, it looks like they're coming back to be vacancies in the short term virtue after that. So I did also reach out to the provincial government to sort of share my concerns that we need to look at doing something a little bit different. And I know there's a shortage across Manitoba and across Canada for RCMP members. But again, I think that we're at a little bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the lack of isolated posting pay when everybody around us receives, all the members around us receive it. So we'll continue to advocate for that.
And just further, I was speaking to Joel Germain. He's currently a 18-year member in Cranberry. He's moving here in July. Looking forward to it with his family. He's got 2 young boys in hockey. And also speaking to a member yesterday, and right now they're looking at 4 recruits that are destined to come to the fall, possibly 5.
Yeah.
So your numbers back up there.
Yeah.
I don't want to give a little bit of a plug as well. We hear, I don't want to call them horror stories, but we hear, you know, the low numbers, and I think it discourages some people from calling. Last night there was an incident in my neighborhood, and within 10 minutes there were 2 cruisers on site. So do not hesitate to call the police when needed. Don't be discouraged by, like I say, some of the things you hear, they're not available.
No,
they are still doing their job.
Absolutely. And I want to make sure that, and I've said it many times, this discussion and the concerns we have are not with the local members and the operations that's going on here. I mean, our members are working bucket loads of overtime. I know they're bringing in people from other municipalities to cover, and they're doing a really, a great job for us keeping our community safe. What we're concerned about, we get concerned is they get tired too, and they work a lot of hours, and we want to make sure that they've got the right support, but they're also compensated for the right, for the job, for the tough job that they do. So, and you're right, Councillor Manich, if you have a concern, call the RCMP. Don't wait. That's their role, and they will respond.
Even if you don't think they're gonna respond in time or the problem's moving on, they need those numbers.
Yeah.
It validates their work and validates the request for more money.
And there's a priority system for them, so like they know when to respond. Okay, so just under unfinished business, we've had some quality improvement committees.
just had a quick question on that. So unless it's changed, Councillor Forrester and I are on the personnel committee. I have not been contacted regarding that.
So,
Or like a time when that's gonna happen.
yes, because I was.
Okay.
I have one comment about it.
Councillor March?
I had one comment about our QIC meeting. We'd requested some information, and that was 3 weeks ago now, I guess, since our meeting. We'd asked for the billing details relating to false alarms. We'd asked for that in the meeting, so I was hoping to see that, especially that it's budget season and numbers are a big topic right now.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I would hopefully roll that into our budget, so we actually see that, because I had the same questions for the budget meetings. If we can get that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was hoping to see it in the report that we received as well, but it wasn't, so
Yeah.
again, it was part of our
Yeah.
discussions that
Yeah.
we were gonna see that billing.
Strategic plan, first update, first quarter. No. So I know you guys have seen that, so they've hired an appraisal company to recheck their numbers on fair market value. Our council's and administration's position continues to be that we will rebuild it as soon as we get the insurance, and we will look to see what we can do.
Yeah, this also sends quite a number of questions to us to answer, and we've already done everything.
Perfect. Yeah. I have meetings tomorrow or this week, so I might have an opportunity to ask as well. And the Paul welcome sign, we can see that there. Which reminds me, where were we at with the Connor Dewar sign? The NHL sign, Connor Dewar, and then
Jesse Isles.
that was on our list too.
I thought MMF was doing it.
I knew MMF was doing it, I just wanna make sure that we're not holding something up, if we could just get a check up and service agreements, so you've seen that, so Bola's mentioned, they've rolled everything into one single agreement. I'm not sure if, how long that'll hold things up, because we already agreed to everything in the RM one, so.
I have the draft already, just sent it to me, the lawyer sent me that one is just a document part, so it sent it to me.
Yeah, as long as we're not changing the numbers or anything,
No.
because we've already agreed to it.
So we forwarded the number to.
And then, yeah, we've got to get those other agreements up to date and issued. And I know, I'll get to it. Library cleaning, so that's an insurance job. Recreation fees, I see the response there. So one of the things that council has asked for.
Yeah, you just quickly jump back to the library. It says in there that the library will be cleaned by tomorrow. Like, I just curious what the definition of clean means, because I know there's some concern with mold, and they had to shut the library down for a day or two because of the smell and all that. Is it gonna be like just a broom in there and sweeping it up, or is there gonna be mold
Remediation, yeah.
So it'll be all done by tomorrow?
I read, or I was told that Apollo got the contract, they issued the contract through insurance. And that they will be remediating that, so whatever that remediation means, I expect that it's more than sweeping.
Yeah, I assumed it was as well, it's just that it's cleaning could.
Yeah, I don't,
Kind of a vague term in there, so
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious what it exactly meant.
Okay, I have to get the definition of cleaning, but this was, we got the coverage, we just got the coverage from the insurance company, and it's a full coverage. And they gave us the estimated amount that they were like three companies, and we actually decided this is the least amount, so.
We should have said starting tomorrow.
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking, is, yeah, I don't imagine that all that work's gonna be done by tomorrow.
so one of the things we've been talking about around the recreation non-resident fees, so. If we can actually, as council, if we are doing it. In certain areas, I think it would be good to see some visibility to that, so we know what we're actually collecting and how many non-residents we're paying. This applies to when you have, community run, events or programs. But what it doesn't apply to is that if you are running minor hockey, figure skating, karate, all these other things that are using town facilities or could be using town facilities, but the registration is not sort of connected to the town, so I don't disagree that this is good that we're doing this, and if we can get an idea of what this is, like how much the fees are. And then how do we ensure that we've captured everybody? And, and I think the important part about this is sort of goes in line with what we're saying as part of the resolution we've got passed at AMM, is that if you're not paying a municipal tax in a community, you should be, if you live here. And that's what we're trying to capture. So it's not about penalizing anybody, it's about everybody paying their fair share.
And it'll allow us to grow our facilities and grow our
Yeah.
offerings by having everybody contribute in a fair way.
Yeah, absolutely. The grant stuff, so I think we've talked about that. I know that there's a request, so what my understanding is, I know Councillor Forster's not here, but my understanding is that what's holding up that request right now is there's two levels or two. I'll tell you right now, they need 2 letters of references from other community groups, for their application. And if they, as soon as they can get that, and they also would like to know what other funding sources. I did talk to, I don't know how to say her name, Kawia. I did talk to Kawia today. She called me because she couldn't get a hold of Larry, or Larry was on the road, and that they will go and generate fundraising and stuff like that. They're just sort of at the point where they're just not sure what kind of sponsorship they're going. I did suggest that that they should do some fundraising, because if they're expecting, somebody to pick up a $17,000 bill to run an event in town, I think there has to be some work by the parents and the community groups to support that. So I think that that's what I suggest that you do, so.
And it is also checked off on here that the project will move forward if it doesn't have any grant funding as well.
Yeah, I think what, from my understanding, and it's great that they're doing this, I think they're trying to make this bigger than just the basketball tournament. And that's what and I love that idea, like I think we all do. Let's make it so that people want to come back to the PAW, people want to see the hospitality. And it's very similar to how minor hockey runs their hockey tournaments and stuff. You make it a big event. There's spin-offs, not only just in the hotels while this is happening, but also through the summer times and the next time somebody wants to come up. So, so I think that we'll wait and see what happens from DMC. And I did send the request to from Gabrielle to Kawia today, or just when we were sitting in this meeting. Okay, and general business RCMP stats, everybody had a chance to look at that? Any comments? Okay. Well, I'm trying to find out where we're in a citizen period. Only person here that's citizen is Ravi, but he's on the books, on the clock tonight, so he can't speak. So we're going to a committee of the whole.
Resolve that we now move ourselves into the committee of the whole with Mayor Murphy and the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.
Recycling truck. Anybody want to talk more about that?
Anybody have any questions about it?
My only question is, can we get a resolution tonight and get this brought back out so that we can actually get it purchased tonight if we're gonna approve it? So that we can not wait 2 more weeks and get the trucks back to where they belong?
Everybody's in favor, we can.
I'm not opposed to it, to the center having a truck, like obviously they need it in order for operations to run, but I don't understand why the manager did not submit their own issue sheet and why our superintendent supplied an issue sheet for the recycling center.
He probably did it on my behalf, on her behalf, I guess jointly, just as a board member. Was discussed, and as you know, Sam and Vera, they've been allocated to assist with kind of the restructuring, reorganizing the recycling center.
So are they managing it also, or
They're
part of the restructure? Because
assisting.
this is a manager's role.
If it would please you, I could change that to my issue sheet. If it makes it clearer to you, but that's the intent.
I just hope that the next one comes from the manager.
Yes. Probably will.
Yeah. My only question now that I said what I said, is the truck ready though? So if we rush this through, is it,
Trucks on the lot.
so will they get it tomorrow so we can get the town truck back with the town truck?
Their other funding partners have been given the same information, and as soon as we're approved, we get approved tonight. We can let the other John and Jerry know that it's approved. Council, I think on the RM, I think they were meeting Wednesday. The premise was that we bring it to the council tonight. Ideally, there's been a few different scenarios, don't get the truck that quick, but normally it would be between the whole tonight, next council meeting, resolution be passed. If council wants to do it tonight, that's perfect,
I think that we should, because we're,
better, and I'm sure we can get the other vehicles, like the RM and the OCN. There was no issue there with paying their share of it.
And that was gonna be my question. There was no issue from the RM or OCN with their representatives, but is there with council? Like, if we rush it and put it forward tonight, for example, what if they hum and haw and sit? Like, I mean, it doesn't affect anything.
I think we have to buy one anyway, so.
They've been discussing, we've been discussing this.
Well, I know it's been a long time,
6 weeks.
but if for some reason, just because you do hear the
Yeah.
stories of the RM says, we don't wanna do recycling at all. If they say we don't want to, does that mean between us and OCN are gonna split the other $17,000 that's missing?
If
That's my concern.
that were to happen, I would buy a truck. But they're,
And then what? Sam goes to the truck, that's my concern, right?
either way, I agree with Mayor, we need to get our vehicle back in the fleet.
Oh, for sure, that would be the.
This can be done tonight, get that truck tomorrow, it has a few things that have to be done to it. But the only thing that would probably take the most time would be getting the rack taken off the old truck and put it on the new one. Either way, there would be no, they'd have to do it on weekends or whatever, it's.
They should be able to start the month off with a new truck, at least worst case scenario.
Yeah, let's not hold up because of paperwork. We're making the decision, we're doing it anyways. Let's just get it done and get our own vehicle back, so we're putting the wear and tear on our own brand new trucks.
Do we know what the Reserve sits at for the recycling center? And then
Their reserve has been depleted years ago, they've been using it for various things.
I think we have.
I think the public also needs to be made aware that there was a request last year for $17,850 for a forklift that was not purchased.
It was purchased,
Yeah.
they managed to get it repaired, and that question was asked by the
Yeah.
board. So the town still has 17,800, I believe, and do you not need that for the forklift? Are you sure the forklift, you're not gonna be coming back to the town with the other funding partners asking for money for a forklift, because you're not gonna get it? And no, everything is good, forklifts both are operational, don't have any issues with them. And that's, as an issue sheet, our portion, we have that money from the forklift that we can use to offset some of this.
So then, that said, when was the forklift prepared?
Last year. It should be in the budget, so we're the cost of where they get it.
So in those cases where we approve money for something to be purchased and then it does not need to be purchased, we just don't get our money back, like,
No.
we're gonna get it.
We have to give it.
Yeah.
Dispersed it.
We haven't dispersed it.
We still have it.
I know it's gonna sound negative here, but one thing does bother me about that is that we justify that we need something real bad and then we don't spend the money. It just loses a little bit of trust in the decision making. I'm just looking for a reserve if we have a reserve on recycling.
I don't think it was depleted years ago because there was money for that fence. I don't think the reserve was depleted years ago because there was money for that fence and everything last year.
Well, say a year ago.
Well, we'll look at,
But I know there's no money in the reserve there now. And you'll note in, you'll see it when they get the budget, that there is money allocated for when they change capital reserve in their budget this year. Great. So they start building that up.
Yeah, and we haven't seen that yet.
Yes, I have invited the recycling and Andy Bank for the presentation of their project on February 10th. February 10th.
Oh, are we
And for
waiting?
the city and library, be here on February.
Wait
for what,
to see their budget first or no?
for this truck?
Yeah.
No,
Just-
we gotta get, it doesn't matter where the, yeah, we have to get a truck. I mean, if not, then we need to shut the recycling center down.
I know.
And just for sidebar information, the truck that lost the motor, there was discussion there that, well, maybe we get the other truck fixed up too, and the board said, no, we're gonna have one truck, and you don't need two trucks, just, then you're gonna have two things to maintain, two registrations, and then,
Well, if that's the option, why are we buying a new truck?
well, it would cost, $30-some thousand to.
No, but if we were gonna fix it,
Yeah, so it's not, wouldn't be reasonable.
No.
But it was discussed, it was suggested to do that.
yeah,
So if council, if everybody's in favor of.
Yeah.
Forward tonight,
well, when we come out of our, committee, the whole will come out of that before we go into the camera, we'll pass a resolution to approve the purchase of that truck as outlined. If everybody's in approval of it. Digital board sign, I guess for information.
I had a question about that one. When did our zoning bylaw change that electronic signs or digital signs do not need to come to council? It used to be that it had to come to council. Like, for example, when McDonald's went up, they put up a digital sign, had to come to council. When the Legion put up their digital sign, had to go to council. So I'm just curious to know when the rules changed, because this became a topic of one of the RHA, of course, that I've asked multiple times about. That sign needed to come to council by the zoning bylaw. So I'm curious to know when it was taken out of the zoning bylaw.
Nothing was taken out of the bylaw.
Oh, did you look at the, I don't know either, but did you check the, Kelsey
It was
Planning
part of the
District?
Kelsey Planning District.
Did it maybe
Jen said
change in
didn't
there?
need to come.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked in there either, but, because I
So
don't know.
Kelsey Planning District
Might have
changed our zoning bylaw.
Well, that's because they adopted a new zoning bylaw with that Kelsey Planning.
So everything that applies to the town of La Paz zoning wise is Kelsey Planning District.
Yeah, a lot of that is already in there, yeah.
So I would have to. would be
Yeah,
my
that might
question.
be, that might
Is
be.
that something that was removed for digital signs? And that's,
Okay.
so I'd have to look at that zoning bylaw.
Yeah, I have a copy that I can
At
email.
one time, any sign, based on sign like the one on top of Fishman's old place.
Exactly.
I never saw anything that.
Yeah, well, and that was a question as well, because the whole reason was it becomes distracting, so the council wanted to have a say, safety wise, right? You know, drive down the street and all of a sudden, and of course you go to a city and everything's a bright shining digital light. But they were almost foreign in the pop, so that's why I say it was part of our zoning
Yeah.
bylaw.
We asked a question on that when that sign went up, the same thing, and that's what I believe we were told. I'm just going by memory. I'm just trying to find.
And that was the messaging Jen gave was that it was part of the new Kelsey Planning District bylaw and that it did not need to come to council.
Yeah,
So did sizing change in that same bylaw? Cause I know that again.
I don't know.
That's not- I don't think so. No, because when you mentioned that, I did look that up, I think, and I
So
don't,
sizing should apply.
yeah, I think.
Interesting to see if there is any changes, it's
Yeah.
all based on square footage and frontage of the building and size of the.
Well, it
sign.
used to be just simply the size of the sign, right? It didn't even matter what it was applied to, just the overall size. This was what was required. And if it was going to be bigger, you'd make an application and say, hey, I want a bigger sign. This is why. And then council would decide because we're going against what the zoning said. That's all. Just want to make sure that there wasn't something.
And as for this sign, they've been working on this for a long time. This is just a.
Like, Mayor Murphy mentioned, he was gonna share the.
I'll email you guys the Kelsey Planning District thing. I'm just looking real quick to see if I can find it in signs. Just give me 1 second.
Cause I know Jen did work on the zoning bylaw for a long time. That was kind of her sword in her side for a long time, so I'm guessing that was.
So Kelsey, just Kelsey Planning District, they also look after parking requirements on.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering, does it encompass everything?
I don't think,
It's
I
a
don't
little
think it
strange,
is
right,
part,
because some of it applies to building bylaw.
no, I don't think it does part.
Has to do with parking, has to do with development.
Okay, then we still have an existing zoning bylaw that one is gonna supersede the other.
Yeah, I don't.
Because the zoning bylaw applies and takes everything into account, building, as you mentioned, building requirements. All
And,
go together with zoning, they don't just independently survive.
And now that you say that, I don't believe signs are part of it. Just looking quickly.
I have an email.
Anyways, I'll send you this. I'll send you, we can look at, but we can get that from. Well, I just thought I could find it real quick.
I just found it interesting that in the notes it said, doesn't need to come to council, whereas previously digital signs always had to.
Yeah, and we didn't know that same thing. Well, I was gonna question the broken part of it. The broken part of it is because whoever was clearing snow on the other side pushed snow against the leg and broke it. It's not that it's not like it's wore out. It's been damaged from whoever was pushing snow. So you can see there's one leg sticking out there. Okay, so we'll get more information on that. I do like, you know, curious. The fire report, any questions regarding that, the detailed fire report? I had some questions.
I think a lot of it will end up in part of the budget discussions.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find my,
Still loading.
I have it written in my other paper here. I just gotta find it on my paper. Does anybody else have any questions with regards to the presentation that fire? It was a good presentation, lots of details. Just gotta tell you the questions I had there.
So I guess one question, just because you're still looking here, we list service area.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be considering Moose Lake as a service area, then we should have a service agreement with Moose Lake.
Yeah.
Because we have attended, I don't wanna say multiple, but there have been definitely a few attendees out there, and that's thousands of dollars of unrecouped money if we don't have an agreement. Because I know we've had the discussion of mutual aid, and the way mutual aid works is there's a lot of parameters to it. You can't just say, oh, they're mutual aid, therefore we just respond all the time. If you're doing it properly, if you follow what the OFC suggests, or not suggests, lays out, the only time that you can consider it mutual aid is if the coordinator's involved, you've made your request, which would be the fire chief in Flin Flon. He would then say, okay, this is now considered mutual aid, and you'd go off. If you don't, it's not considered a mutual aid call. Therefore, if you have a service agreement in place, you bill for that time. And if we're sending guys an hour out of the community with our equipment, that's a cost that we need to be recovering and recouping.
We've talked about it in our QIC meeting. When was that?
That was,
A few weeks ago?
oh, yeah, two and a half weeks ago. And, yeah, there is something being worked on. It's not finalized. I don't want to take the fire chief's thunder here,
Yeah.
but there is something to discuss. So there'll be something coming forward.
Just on mutual aid kind of gives you the impression you're getting something back when you need it. With all respect to Moose Lake, I don't think they're gonna be sending anything to help us do anything. And it's not an hour, it'd be 3 hours.
It wouldn't be a mutual aid.
So it's not really
Yeah.
mutual aid.
It's not a mutual aid
And with-
agreement. That's in the.
And with our limited numbers of men we have responding to calls, I know he takes into consideration, make sure you've got adequate people in town to, if something comes up or if two things come up, mutual aid to Moose Lake. I think that would be, yeah, I don't think it would work.
Yeah, again, it's not mutual aid only falls into place when the community you're assisting and helping in a mutual aid is kind of hands-on, on all hands on deck. It's not just because they didn't want to show up or can't show up. It's because arrangements have been made to look after that. So we just want to make sure we're protecting our taxpayers that are supplementing, as it's been or will be a very big topic.
You will be presenting something very soon. That's
Yeah.
a discussion going on.
And just for clarification for the public that's watching, I don't don't see mutual aid mentioned in this. So it's not, fire chief's not talking mutual aid.
That means that these should all be billed. And if we don't have service agreements, we're providing service for free because you can't bill without it, right?
And as was mentioned, there is something coming down the line for service agreement.
Yes, this report was for last year, for 2024, something, 2025, there's an update, something is coming.
So maybe we could add that to the request of bills on alarm calls. Maybe it'd be nice to see what our billables have been.
Yeah.
For those other areas, not just the arm of Kelsey, but if we're attending Moose Lake, who paid for that? That's my question.
Councillor Manning, this, you will see the breakdown of who's going to pay, it's actually beyond the municipal level. But because we've not gotten to the final stage, that is why I just don't want to put the conclusion for now. It's not within the municipal power, it's going to be for particular.
But you know, it's, and this is important on just on budgets, is that we talk about expenses all the time and about, but we also need to talk about our revenue side and where we're actually, how we compare it to previous years and such, so. Generating revenue is always a good thing. So I did have, under the challenges there, I did actually have a couple other questions. I did have one with the service areas as well. But there was a time that says that there's a truck that's parked sideways in front of the front apparatus, and it happens a couple of times where the truck needed to be boosted or repaired, which impacts response time. So my question would be, what are we doing about that so that doesn't ever happen again? Because that should be an easy fix. So, you know, if we're talking about the size of the fire hall or just making sure a truck doesn't get so dead that it needs a boost, change a battery, put a battery maintainer on
There
it.
is a battery maintainer. That's what I was kind of,
Common sense would tell you egress of a truck from hall should be impeded by anything.
Yeah. So anyways, I was just curious about that. And then the other
Excuse
thing,
me, sorry, what page is that?
it's on the last page, under challenges.
Okay.
I had a whole bunch of other questions too, but, and then there's a Byron's calling me. But,
Right now,
yeah,
but what's the chatter on
there was radio there.
my invitation?
yeah.
We just got a call for a plane out at Clearwater that might be making an emergency landing with no landing gear.
Okay. I will share that with them. I will share that information, Byron. Thank you for calling. All right, bye. They're responding to, I'll tell you. The other thing I had was, Upper Twos that have been in for service 5 times this year due to repairs. Council should be aware of that. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know what the issue is. And then the last thing that I had, was at the beginning. On there's somebody quit the department. Because resigned due to dissatisfaction with regards to compensation, and I think that we did bring forward that if we're not paying competitive wages, that we need to do that. And we're looking for a recommendation from the administration on that to make sure that we're doing the right things.
I'll make one further comment, just because you brought up the challenges. I wanted to clarify, and we'll be talking about it, probably one of our next discussions with this fire inspection report. The information at the end of this report is very inaccurate because not every building gets inspected every year. Only certain ones do. Some are every 3 years. So the numbers, sorry to use the word exaggeration, but it's misinformation. There aren't 1,000 inspections required a year. It's nowhere near that number. Like you can cut this number by 90% on a yearly inspection. So you set up a cycle of how many each year, because certain properties deserve or need an inspection every 3 years to be compliant, not every single year. Schools, hospitals, care homes, they get inspected every year. The regular business downtown does not get inspected every year. So to say you require 1,000 inspections a year and 3.8 a day is very, very misleading and inaccurate information.
Okay, so that's all the story on that. Let's just keep moving along here. So some follow-up on that, Bola. Graduations, awards and bursaries, that's fine. I don't see any issues with that. I mean, we want to support that. Did you want us, are you just sharing this with us, this, grants? Was that just information for now?
Yes, it's just an information, because these are the grants that we have. I just want to know if council is making them of another grant outside this. We
Yeah.
want to incorporate everything.
Well, I'm gonna put in the issue sheet, but I do believe the town of the Paw should contribute to the Tri Community Foundation a certain amount of money annually, because that is actually paying back to the town. So, you know, I'm gonna put in, I'll put in this is just a discussion point, but I'm saying $10,000 to $15,000.
I also mentioned another committee.
Yeah.
That should be added as well.
Yeah, so if I guess you're asking if we need to see anything else, guys, have a look at that.
Yes,
So deadline for this, Bola, for us to get back to you.
I would like to have this before the next council meeting, before the next budget meeting.
Next budget meeting.
Next budget meeting is February 3rd. I would like to have it this week by Wednesday.
For some of these here, like, Arts Council, Animal Shelter, I haven't seen any correspondence from them, so are we not expecting to at least request that?
And that's one of those things that we have to come up with, like, we have to set the kind of limits that if council is giving these amounts, like limits, you have to come and do kind of presentation or show council budget.
Yep.
But if you are giving them below certain amounts,
They can just,
yes, Laura's working on that policy, I'm working with her, we have to come up with the threshold.
Didn't you, but weren't the grants, part of that process where people had to apply online this year?
Yes.
Yes, the grant application that was closed in December.
Okay,
So everyone here has applied?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, people,
Okay.
the highlighted one, Park Kotorama, they've already applied the application. So. And some of them are sure one like CDC does not need to apply, the certain does not.
well, they gotta submit a budget, yeah.
Yes,
They're working on it right now.
just for clarity, why are some of them coming to us and some of them are not? Like, why did we not get anything from the animal shelter when we did last year?
Well, I think this is just new, I don't know if we.
Yeah, but if they have made their submission,
it just closed December 31st, so maybe they just haven't came yet.
it's not even coming to this, if like, if the NBC had asked when we came to present to us, we just got information provided, right? So, like, I'm okay if we don't see this and this is supposed to admin, but should be an even playing field, right? Either you're submitting
Yeah.
something to us for the review or not.
Yeah, I think we have to, what we're trying to do is get everybody in at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year so that, you know,
Which I
we're not, yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
So, yeah, I think strengthening that process would be beneficial. Okay, so that's that, so we got till Monday to give some feedback to Bola or have it for the budget meeting. So let's fire inspection report. So there for information, was that? No. Oh, we moved it,
I'll go
okay.
in and out on that.
Yeah, sure.
I requested. So we were presented this at the meeting, of course, last week. Raised my eyebrow a little bit. You and I ended up having a discussion about it. It's a legal document. It's signed by the issuer as well. It's issued to somebody at the town of the fall. You explained to me why this document came forward, which was concerning in itself, but we won't get into that because I feel that's more of a personnel issue. Anything to bolster money from council is inappropriate. My concern is this document is very inaccurate. And I'm gonna, instead of just using my words, because I know there is a little bit of a perception that I have sour grapes, which it definitely is not. But I want to read something here. This comes directly from the Office of the Fire Commissioner. This was something you and I talked about. The difference between a fire code and a building code, they work harmoniously, but are independent as well. When an issue like this, a fire life safety inspection report is created, it's to show there's deficiencies in the space that we're occupying. So I'm going to read exactly what it says when doing a fire inspection. If a building still has the same use and occupancy as it originally was built for, and all life safety systems pass the annual inspection, the building would not have to be brought up to present day code. In this report alone, there's basically an ask for about $30,000 worth of work that is not required. Those back doors don't need push bars on them because it's not code. It's the way it's grandfathered, right? It existed when this building was built in 1971. Therefore, that's the code you use. Requesting a door between the radio room and the apparatus bay, as much as that would be nice for exhaust and noise and everything else, it's not a requirement. So to say there's a deficiency and then it must be brought up to code in a certain day is very negligent. And it's basically falsifying a document to bolster dollars, as was reported to me. That was the reason for the report, was to tell council we want to spend more money here.
Yeah, let's,
That's not the way
just wanna correct one thing though, Councilman. I don't wanna say that we're falsifying the document in a way, but I would say that maybe we have some inaccurate information with regards to how it applies to the code. Because falsifying is, I take it as a little bit of a different word. And I think what we're asking for, Bola, is that maybe as, when we talk about the fire stuff, there's some things in here that I think are pretty no-brainers, housekeeping, and it shouldn't be there in the first place. But when there's significant changes to the building based on the way it's been for a number of years, as Councilor Manage just mentioned, we should get a bit of a presentation on why we need to do that and not just have a document land on our table.
My concern, and this is why I think it went into in camera, is if there's been other reports done, Councilor Hopper, you're a business owner, a property owner in town, if a fire chief was to come by and say, you must do this, and you spent thousands of dollars unnecessarily, it's a lawsuit. That's things that we have to be concerned with as council to be aware, because at the end of the day, we're responsible, right?
Yeah.
And now that this was made public to us and we are aware of these deficiencies, some of them, although like I said, are not, it's concerning that possibly, according to the report, there's 24, or in this case, 23 other reports that could be just as inaccurate or wrong, and that could be concerning.
Most of the little things that were identified has been done. So the council will get the status of all those ones. And for the major one, like the back end, the road radio road, there will be a presentation by fire chief on Friday, asking those questions.
Right, but this report is saying that it's wrong by the code, saying that the code requires that a fire door be installed there. That's not the case, because the building has existed this way and was designed that.
Okay, so,
Sorry, the last, sorry,
sorry,
one last thing. The reason I asked for the follow-up reports is because when you include compliance dates, it is then up to the inspector to ensure those things are done, otherwise it's lip service, right?
Yes.
And by, again, the standard established by our governing body, the OFC, it says, and there's another form that's provided online that says, you now do this list. To just say, do this by December 2nd, do this by November 26th, doesn't mean anything if you never follow.
yeah, my understanding too, though, was that this was not submitted to anybody.
That was.
It was submitted to
It
go on.
was not.
Yeah, just internally, that's what I
Well,
mean.
because there's no
Yeah,
way the public to be
no,
submitted.
no, I meant, when I was thinking like going to the fire commissioner.
No, so, and that's part of the other issue. We have 14 days. Let's say, for example, this really got everybody's hair up and got us concerned that we were going to spend $30,000 on our building. And we wanted a review. The review clearly states it must be submitted to the Office of Fire Commissioner within 14 days. They don't need to be involved unless they are asked to. Like I used the example of Councillor Hopper, being a property owner in town. If he was told to do a bunch of things, he didn't agree with it, he would then ask for a review by the Office of Fire Commissioner. We weren't given that benefit because this document is now 2.5 months old. we just found out about it. You know, almost 8 weeks after it was issued.
Was it
So-
over?
On this, obviously your information there that has to be further looked at, and the big ticket items, I remember way back when, talking about the back doors when on work, we don't have to do that. So I was a little surprised to see that in there. I thought maybe something changed, but as you said, building is grandfathered for various things. I would say, next council meeting, the fire chief, if he, it sounds like CAO said he's going to be explaining this or going over the items. There's big ticket items there that he's saying we need, then justify it, show us in the code, building, fire code, whatever, and if it's correct, then we have to do it. If it's not, then it shouldn't be. We're asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
here to.
No, exactly. Counselor Allen?
Just one question for our CAO. When did you receive this report?
Last year, we were,
So you received it right after the inspection date?
yes. And
So it wasn't 2 months after the fact that this arrived, it was immediate to you?
But it was shared with us. That's all
I'm
I'm asking.
asking whether it's a bowl, I isn't asking on the council.
Okay, so more to come on this, obviously. I think that's all we had. Before we go into camera, do we have a resolution for that truck? So you wanna take us out of the, do we have to come out of the, out of the committee of the whole? You wanna take us out of committee of the whole and return to regular council?
Sure. Okay, so we now leave the committee of the whole and return to the regular council meeting.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Allen, resolved that the council authorize its share of the purchase of a new truck for Tri-Community Recycling in the amount of $39,593.12. This is cost shared by the 3 funding partners, the town being the largest, 53%, the other 2 are, I think, 23 and 24. And there is funds available in that equipment reserved for that.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, okay. Going to in camera, thank you very much for coming tonight.
You missed last month, so you have to actually sit there with your ears plugged.
Yeah.
You just can't hear it. You have to stay.
It's all something else, it's all density. Portion of the committee of the whole with Mayor Murphy and the chair to discuss matters requiring our attention.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody that's been viewing tonight. We don't expect to have any business coming out of in camera. We're talking about a couple of financial things. And that's about it. Have a great night.